Hey guys, I'm Samson.
And I'm Keon.
And I'm Julia.
And I am Samuel. And today we're going to be talking about. Oh, hold up. I forgot to introduce us. We are the 99. Excuse my. Alright, but today our topic is going to be about how the Bible is. How is the Bible a guideline to our life? And for me, I kind of want to talk about applications that are already in our lives, or things that already is already set in stone, like even for us, right? So for us, our laws are a really big thing, a big part of kind of like shaping our the influences of the Bible already in our lives, right? So the basic stuff, don't kill, don't steal, that kind of stuff. And if you look in the Bible, that comes from like the Ten Commandments, which comes from I believe from when Moses brought it down from the mountain. I believe that's in Exodus.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I believe Exodus. Yes.
Genesis.
So I'm just thinking like, is it? I mean, Genesis, Exodus. You let me know. You fact check.
Exodus.
Exodus. Okay, but just like having that in your life, or that Bible application already being in your life, and it's already like a guideline, right? Because the Ten Commandments are laid down not to show us what not to do, but also show us that there are things that we will do and that we mess up on. But that's why it's there. It's to help us, right? It is already a guideline. And but that's just our everyday lives. Like, there's some other stuff that we can talk about, right? So maybe say like relationships or other things in that. What are you guys' inputs on that?
So going with like relationship wise, right? When I say relationship, it doesn't have to be like romantically relationship with your boyfriend or your spouse. It could just be like friendship or family wise, or companionship between your coworkers. And how the Bible is a guideline, or it can be a guideline to our relationship or our daily life, is that if let's say if you're looking for a spouse, right, or to find a godly woman, if you go to the book of Proverbs 31, it shows you guys God talk about the characteristic of what a godly woman should be, And then if we were to look into, like the book of Ephesians, chapter 6, what does God said for us children to, do with our parents, is to honor and to obey, because when we don't listen to our parents, it can cause a lot of unpeacefulness in our life, and unhappiness. So what did God say? Honor your parents and honor and listen to them, and parents do not test your children at that too. And Ephesians 5, when we look into a romantic relationship, of how a wife should treat their husband, or a husband should treat their wife, like people in this generation or society tend to think that, masculine, or like a woman should be like submissive, or like when they say submissive, like kind of like a slave wise, and to be looked down upon, but no, what did God said about a woman being submissive to her husband? God didn't say submissive as to be a slave, but submissive as to be, being respectful, to listen to your husband, to support your husband, and husband in return love your wife as how, you will love your own body, like how Christ loved the church, and the Bible honestly is a guideline to our everyday relationship, not just marriage, not just friendship, but also family wise, and I think not a lot of people give enough credit to how amazing God is, that before God even bring us to this earth, God already prepared all of these for us, But yeah, going on, like, what is your guys' thoughts also on like how the Bible is a guideline to our life? Because I know that relationship is just not one of them.
So honestly, I feel like the Bible is so important to us because, like how you guys were saying, it comes down to like the rules, the laws that we have in our lives, and also like how it could also apply to like our relationships and like our daily lives and stuff. And not only that, but like I feel like just having the Bible and reading it helps helps us understand what we should do as Christians, and what we should do as just as a normal individual too, because just like in the Bible, it gives us a purpose, and that purpose was like what Jesus was saying in I believe in Matthew chapter 28, how we should spread out and go to all the ends of the earth and spread the gospel,
Yeah, to make
So
nations.
and just seeing that and applying to our lives and going into the world and talking about Jesus, talking about the Bible, it's it brings it all together, and like what Samuel was saying about how the laws and relates to the commandments, it's we already apply it to our daily lives. We already use the Bible, So I was that's
Good
what
point. Good point.
Well, I agree with you guys. The Bible, it shows us what are wrong and what's good in the Bible. And the most important thing, it also teaches us that, for us Christians, that Sunday, the Sabbath, it's the most important day for us, that we should be keeping that day, holy, and not work or not do things. But as it says in the Bible, and I think that's one of the main concept that it is pointing out to us, keeping the Sabbath day holy as a day of worship.
Okay.
I just want to say, I feel like that's, even now for me, I feel like that's hard, because, I constantly want to, so I go to the gym, so, after church, I constantly want to, just go to the gym, or, even before church, I want to go to the gym, and just to get that, just to,
Get that gain.
well, not exactly that. It's just it's more of it's I do it. It's kind of like my daily necessity that I do for my weekends, or my weekdays for myself. So it's just it's like a standard for me to do, and I feel like that's, or at least for me it's hard, because I have to just take time to just relax and just come to God, and just to remind myself this is like what Samson was saying, is the day of the Sabbath. We have to just come and not do rest and not do too much.
It's alright, I used to want to go fishing in the morning before but then again, I'm not a morning person too, so yeah.
Talking about not working on Sundays, I feel like sometimes there's people that they do take the Bible and they apply it to their lives, right? But sometimes you take it the wrong way, right? And you kind of use it the wrong way. You see it in the Bible when some of the laws that were implemented by the Pharisees, right? And they were very strict about some things, right? So even when Jesus was out and he was preaching, right, and he was living, he was healing people, right? And he goes up to a man who's lame, and he can't walk, and he heals him and tells him to pick up his mat and go. And that man ends up running him into a couple, teachers of the law, and they say, it's why are you doing this? Or because it's the Sabbath, the holy day, you shouldn't be doing it, right? And I feel like a lot of the time, sometimes we have people that are like the Pharisees, right? Where you find it's almost like an excuse to not do something, right? To be like, the Bible says you shouldn't do this because it's the Sabbath. You should just rest and keep the day holy, right? But we end up kind of forgetting our purpose as Christians, right? And Jesus was healing people on the Sabbath. And he wasn't worried about, resting, right? because his healing was keeping the the Sabbath holy, right? So I think we need to take part of that way is like the Bible, yes, is a guideline, but sometimes we kind of take it for granted, or we
use it the wrong
yeah,
way.
the application is wrong, the execution is wrong, right? We don't know, or we use it negatively in a negative context, and so I think a lot of the times it's kind of like it is hard interpretation, confusing too, right? So that's why you can't take bits by bits out of pieces. You do have to read the Bible as a whole, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's so important to take that in. That's why we it's like our spiritual nourishment, right? That's why there's so many things that are taken out of context that's like used wrong, because you don't read the passage as a whole. You just see that one verse and it just says something, and you're just like,
You think it just
it's just that, but then there's more to it.
Mm-hmm.
You want to add more to it. It's important. You need that context. You can't just take one verse and say, hey, yeah, you shouldn't be so and so because in the Bible it says this. Well, you got to read it as a whole because there's more to it, right? So how can you apply something to your life if you don't truly understand it? As Christians, we should be reading the Bible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's important. It's important to know how you should be living your life and why, right? What do we live our life for? We're Christians, right? Christianity, we are following Christ. We're following the footprints of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
So how can you follow someone if you don't know their story? If you haven't read the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, if you haven't read the Gospels, like how can you say you know Jesus when you haven't even know the life that he lived, the life that he had given up? So it's so important that to live your life as to pursue Christ and to use it as like that guideline, that you truly have to know what are those points? What did he do? Some people just hear the story of Jesus turning water to wine, and they're just like, yeah, Jesus, he was all powerful. He could turn water to wine anytime he want. Man, if he was thirsty, that's it.
Yeah, and
you got a little glass.
Sorry.
But
like Jesus turning water into wine, right? Because Christian, there are some Christian out there. Oh, well, Jesus drank wine, so what's so wrong about me drinking wine? And there's nothing wrong with you drinking wine if you drink it responsibly. Responsibly, But it's wrong when you drink it irresponsibly and it causes you to sin, And people, it's like Samuel said, they pick and choose, and they don't read the full context. They don't read the full chapters, And because of that, they don't understand. And then they think that, that's what the Bible is saying, But no, it's like you have to read it fully. You have to, before even reading the Bible, I do recommend that pray before you read it, ask God to fill you with his Holy Spirit so that you understand it and apply it to your life, that way you don't use it in the wrong context and you don't cause yourself to sin and cause others to fall when they see you do what you do, But that was a great point that I really like how Samuel pointed out. But sorry for interrupting you.
No, you're good. Anybody want to add anything?
Well, since you guys were talking about people like
misinterpreting?
Misinterpreting. It reminds me I know there's a lot of things that people also misinterpret from the Bible, like for instance, like polygamy,
Ooh,
just because in the Old Testament, just because in the Old Testament, like Jacob and them, they had a lot of wives.
Mm-hmm.
But then if you go back and read, God didn't tell them to
do polygamy.
Do that.
Mm-hmm.
They're the one who chose to, because you read.
That's true.
Jacob, he was forced to, have many wives because the one he really wanted was Rachel, but his father-in-law was like, oh no, you have to marry the oldest, and then the second oldest, and then until he finally got the one he wanted, but he didn't want that many wives, he wanted one, the one he wanted, he really loved, and that's why, if you guys think just because of that polygamy is good, then it's wrong, guys, because polygamy is bad, because God wanted us to have one person at our side only.
I agree. Like, kind of talking about that, I was rereading about Abraham and Sarah, and Sarah couldn't have a kid, right?
She did that bad
dirty. And then she had her slave, sleep with Abraham, and then, well, the slave did mistreat. I forgot her name. Anybody remember her name?
I never remember.
I forgot her name.
I feel like her name started with the A, but I don't remember it.
But yeah, she starts gloating and saying all this stuff to Sarah, and then Sarah gets upset and is like, "Oh, go away." Like she starts mistreating her, like just because you're having a kid, you're not better than me. And then she's like sends her slave away, and but she didn't make that choice to have that child. Sarah told her like, "You sleep with my husband, get with my man, get pregnant, because we need kids. We need kids." And you get it, because back then, you want to have that next generation, right? But at the same time, it's like, it was wrong. It wasn't even, Abraham didn't even choose to do it. He was influenced, right? So just going back to that, like, that's true. Like, there's a lot of this time in the Bible, does talk about polygamy a lot. And it's like, in today's age, it's not right, because, like we were talking about earlier, with relationships, you want to be faithful to your wife. You want to be faithful to your husband, because, that is what we talk about. So, like, you can't just have, the good and the bad, right? Mm-hmm. And I want to bring it to another point, because I was thinking before it. And I want to see what Keon's thoughts on this too, but let me like, how do you feel about people not misinterpreting, but taking something and applying it to their lives, but then using it as an excuse to do wrong, right? So, like, for example, what Julia was talking about, how alcohol, mm-hmm. It's prevalent. The disciples drank wine, right? Like she was saying, and it's there. It's parties. There's always wine, right? But what do you think about that? Like, what's your opinion on that?
Well, honestly, for not just alcohol in general, but maybe
polygamy too as well.
And like, just everything as a whole, like, everything's gonna be taken out of context, and everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, this is what it says, so I'm gonna do it." And I kind of wanted to bring it back to like what we were talking about, like resting on the Sabbath, and so let me do that point first.
Yeah, go ahead.
So resting on the Sabbath, people probably would take it as like, oh, it's not. If we're resting on the Sabbath, then that means that I don't really have to go to church. Because he says we have to rest.
That's a good point.
So they would tell their parents, or they tell like people like, oh, I don't have to go, because like I can just stay here and like rest and not go, because it does say in the Bible rest. But then like if they didn't read it, or they didn't fully understand what it means, then they would take it out of context like that. And not only that, but like while we're talking about having multiple wives, like, in the Bible, it does say, cherish your husband and your wife, and that when you guys are getting, or when you guys do become, when you guys get married, you guys become one, Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's that marriage is a sacred covenant between you and your spouse, you and your partner, So that should be treated as, as a sacred thing. Mm-hmm. And going back to the alcohol, like since Jesus did drink wine, Jesus made water into wine, people can obviously like say that we can drink alcohol, or like there's, why is it wrong when it's like that? But then if it's like exactly what Julia was saying, it depends on what you, how you would like respond or do your actions when you're consuming alcohol, because we can all say that when we drink alcohol, we become a different person. Yeah. And our actions are not what we want it to be, So like, it's like what everyone has been saying. You have to really read the Bible, really take, just look at the verse and look at the chapter as a whole, and then look at the book that you're reading as a whole. Because if you read that, just a single verse, you won't be able to apply that single verse into your life. You have to read the whole chapter so you can fully understand what the Bible is trying to tell you, and how you can apply it to your lives.
I also wanted to add in, since our topic is how the Bible is a guideline to our life, and we're talking about polygamy, I also wanted to add a little more. But like a marriage, right? A marriage is supposed to be a representation of God's love. It's for me, I think it's the physical form or the worldly form of how you should be faithful to God, because if you are, if you love God, and if you say yourself that you are a Christian, then you would stay faithful to one person, because then it's just like people in this world, it's either money or God, right? You can't have both, and if we were to look into First King, right, where Solomon, he taken multiple wives. At first, he was really, really faithful to God, but then he bring all these multiple wives, and what did they do? They took him away from God, and the whole point is that, it's not about, just marrying one spouse, but the reason why, we should live by the Bible guideline is because God wants us to be close to him at all times, This is why God have these rules in the Bible. It is so that we may not fall into sin, and we may not fall into, Satan's hands, but that way it will keep us closer to God, and hopefully one day we will be able to meet him, And obviously we're not perfect, we're not always, going to 100 expectationally meet, the 10 commandment or, all the rules that God have, but that doesn't give us an excuse to give up, and that doesn't give us an excuse to take advantage of, Jesus' sacrification, But, it's like you guys said, that's why reading your Bible, not just reading that one part, but reading the whole context, the whole chapter, and then doing your research and asking the Holy Spirit to be in you, that will really help you, come closer to God, and will help you walk in the right path and live a happy life. Because that's what God wants us to do. We're his kids. He doesn't want us to live a sad or, unhappy life. That's not his plan for us. His plans are great for us, and he wants us to be happy. But yeah, that's just my input for it.
Also, I totally agree, fully read the chapters, not just one specific verse, because if you read the whole chapter, you get the whole main idea of why Jesus is saying that, or why it was included, in that chapter. And, the Bible also, teaches you, how to know your purpose, too, in life, and to also help you deal with, world problems in your life, you guys were saying, drinking and all that, or how to how to know when you're going in the wrong direction and how to come back, from it. What I was gonna say. So yeah, it's a way for you, it's also a way for you, to stop yourself before you fully, go in that dark tunnel.
I also like to ask, since you brought up, the Bible, it just doesn't teach us how we should live according to God's, plans for us. But it also, really importantly, taught us how to protect ourselves, from the wicked man and adulterous woman, if we were to look in Proverbs, or to always be clothed in the armor of God, and to help us stand strong when against Satan or temptation is coming our way. How should we protect ourselves? How should we fight back? Because a lot of time, we try to be good, but there are times where we forget that, as much as we're trying to be good, we should also read the Bible to, protect ourselves, because, humans, we get really easily influenced. I myself, I'm really an emotional person, and when people say one thing to me, especially if you're really, really close to me and I love you a lot, what you say can impact me a lot if I'm not careful, and if I don't stand by the Bible and don't know what God wants me to do, I can easily fall and, and fall into sin, and then I can cause others to fall into sin. So, what Samson pointed out, or Samuel pointed out, morals and, the law, the Bible is also a guideline to help protect us from our enemies, when to know how to fight back, when to stand strong. But yeah, that's something I wanted to point out.
I also wanted to point out that, like, we said it earlier, but like the Bible is just that important because not only does it shows guideline or has a guideline for us, but it has history inside the Bible, and as we all know, what history is, the meaning behind history is so we can learn from our mistakes and so we can not make history repeat itself, So like it's like in the Bible it has all this history from back then when Jesus was alive, and if we don't learn from, if we don't take our time to read it, don't take our time to learn from it, then obviously we're gonna go back into doing sinful things, doing bad things,
And cause the great flood again. I'm just kidding.
Oh, there's a rainbow in the sky for that.
Yeah, God made a promise.
God made a covenant with it. He won't flood the earth.
Alright, but continue, Keon.
Yeah, so sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
No, you're good. But I just want to say, like, that the history in the Bible is so important because it's like what Sam said. How can you say that you are Christian but don't read the Bible? You don't even know or follow in, or don't even know what like Jesus' life it was. Like you can say that he turned water into wine, but you don't understand what he did or what things that he went through, so he can try to, so he can make miracles like that. You don't. People don't understand like the things that he had to go through. The temptations that he went through with Satan, and like the things that he had to go against with the high priests in Jerusalem, and like. All of that, and not even that, but like the pain that he felt when he was gonna, it's and not only that, but then since the Bible is such a huge book, people can say that like it's too much for a person to read, and it's like people can't really fully understand it, but like. Honestly, if you look at like the Bible as a whole and you read the books and you read the chapters and all that, you can totally understand that everything is cross-referencing each other, and it's such a it's so amazing because like it's it's like it basically those events really did happen. Like how can this one book say this and then another book say the same thing when they were both like probably in different timelines, and from two different authors. So
I would like to add, like people say like the Bible is really boring. I get it. When I first read it, it was really boring. But then I was watching this one meme, where it was a Christian meme, okay? And like where they were doing Bible study, and this guy, he don't know Jesus, right? And they were doing, and then they were reading the book of Matthew, okay, the chapter where Jesus died. He's like, what? Jesus died?
Spoilers.
So if you think about it, and to those who like love action or anime and stuff like that, but it's just an analogy. But like when you read the Bible, there's just so many action and historical and behind the scene, and like the Old Testament, because the New Testament, obviously, with the 4 Gospels, so on, it talks about how Jesus and after Jesus died. But the Old Testament, it's like the flashback of Jesus, It's like if you were to read like Psalm or some chapters in Psalm or like Isaiah, it talks and it prophesies what is going to happen in the future, and all those events lead to Jesus. And I was like, what? Mind blowing. But yeah, sorry. I just thought like it's so cool. Like I used to think that the Bible was boring, but now that like when I kept reading it, like it's just so interesting. It's like a whole freaking drama series, But yeah, to give the Bible a try, guys. Sorry for going off topic.
What? Okay, Joey mentioned series. I mean, there is a series out there, guys. It's called The Chosen. It's really a good biblical series. I watched like 2 seasons of it.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
It's on.
This is my first time hearing about it.
I think the first season is on Netflix. So.
Okay, but along.
Back to
let me add something. Okay. I think going off what Keon and I was saying, like I think it is kind of hard to read the Bible when you look at it as a whole, right? But that's like it's broken up into so many books, and And there's no one set starting point. You don't have to start at Genesis. You don't have to start at Matthew. Those are important, but you want to go at your own pace. Take it in. Some people absorb knowledge faster than others, and that's just how it is, and it's okay. It's the same thing with life. You go about it at your own pace. But it's more showing that you are devout to Christ. That you want to change for Christ. That you want to live that life, right? And that's the important part. Reading your Bible is very important. Like we keep saying, it is that guideline. It's like it's like going into a sport not knowing any of the rules. Like you gotta know some of the rules.
Yeah.
Like you go to basketball and you're like, oh, you're just like tackling people like you're gonna get fouled out. You're gonna get kicked out of the game. Yeah. You're gonna be tackling people. But even in football, like what happened? Like you're gonna catch the ball and like try to dribble it. Like you're playing basketball. Like it's like you have to know a little bit of it, what you're trying to get into, right?
Make it make sense.
And so it's important for you to take your time and to really read the handbook, the guidebook, the rule book. Like it's important to do that. It's so hard to be a Christian and not know how to live life as a Christian.
Yes.
And oh man, I want to talk about. It's a little not super touchy subject, but it's kind of like I feel like a lot of people.
Are we gonna cry?
No.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe you might cry, but I don't know. It's like kind of like for some people it's. You see Christians, right? Mm-hmm. They're living that very hypocritical life, right? You see a lot of Christians, they are quote unquote Christians, right? And they're out clubbing,
The lukewarm.
Like raving, but are they truly Christian, or do they claim to be Christian just because they go to church? Like, what makes you truly Christian? And it's not necessarily going to church. Right? Going to anybody can walk into a church. I can go to a church and be like, yeah,
I'm a Christian.
I'm a Christian. That's
I'm
it.
a church goer.
I'm a church goer. Like you're a church goer. You're not a Christian. Being Christian is so much more than that, right? It's following Christ. Devoting your life to Christ. You can't just claim to be Christian and still be living, that sinful life. And I understand, even I have struggles in my life for things that I'm hard on. People know me. They know I'm an avid gamer, hardcore gamer. Always, I'm like on the games, Sometimes I think I'm like a deadbeat, low key, right? But it's true. That is my issue. That is like that thing that I still deal with, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't let that take away from pursuing Christ too. I still take time out of my day to pray. To read a little bit of the Bible at least. It may not be the most, but like I'm trying. But you can't just not claim to try to change your life and not try to change your life, right? You can't not say, I choose to follow Jesus, right? And there's even examples in the Bible where a man's like, how do I become a follower? Jesus says, just, lay down, like leave everything. And he's like, I can't leave my family. I can't leave my money. I can't leave all these things that I built up. Mm-hmm. And he couldn't do it. So he couldn't follow Jesus, right? And I feel like a lot of the times we see people and they're just like that man. They come before Jesus and Jesus says, humble yourself. Or, all you have to do is this. You just have to follow me. You just need to love me and change your ways. And they can't. They can't because they can't give up that life of sin. Some people are like so used to going out, partying, and having that fun, right? That when it's time to really come back to it and get serious, and Jesus says, can you follow me? Or do you want to follow me? And I think a lot of times people are going to say yes, but then you get the terms and the condition, and you have to read it, right? Because Jesus lays it out for you. He's like, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to do if you want to follow me. And it's very simple. Just drop everything and come. You know, you see it in the examples of the disciples. You know, you had the fishermen, right? You had Matthew, Luke. I don't remember all their names, but like they were from all different things, right? Like Jesus literally walks up. They're fishing, middle of fishing, and he goes, "Come follow me." You know what they do? Drop their nets, and they follow him. And that's such a great example, right? Like for us, it's so hard to leave everything and follow Christ, even today. And I think we talked about this topic a little bit, and I want to add on to it. Like it's not impossible to be Christian and successful, right? So I just want to leave it at that.
All right. Well, you know, we talked about really good stuff, guys, about how important it is to, you know, fully read the Bible and not just pick out certain verse. And we also talked about, you know, how the Bible, you know, how it guides us by, you know, telling us right from wrong. And not only that, you know, it helps us, not only that, it also helps us, you know, protect ourselves, you know, build that armor of God.
Yep.
You know? And I hope, you know, our viewers, audience, you know, you guys like this. You liked our discussion today. And so if you guys like this, you know, subscribe to our Instagram and to our YouTube videos. And also share our videos too, so all your friends and family could watch it too.
And give us a thumbs up.
And yeah, so thank you for supporting us.
Bye. We'll see you guys next week.
On the next episode.